My father handed the company to my golden boy brother at his 60th birthday, so I quit overnight and built a rival empire that crushed them. I spent 15 years working at my dad's manufacturing company, started in the warehouse at 16, worked my way up to operations manager by 28. I knew every single aspect of that business better than anyone. My brother Dylan showed up 3 years ago fresh out of business school with zero real-world experience. Dad gave him a VP title immediately and an office twice the size of mine. Dylan would stroll in around 10, leave by 3, and spend most of his time playing golf with Dad's friends. Meanwhile, I was handling supplier negotiations, fixing production line issues, and basically running the entire operation. But Dylan was the golden child, the son who would carry on the family name. Dad's 60th birthday party was at this fancy hotel ballroom downtown. About 200 people showed up, employees, clients, family, friends, everyone. Halfway through dinner, Dad stood up to make an announcement. He talked about building the company from nothing 35 years ago, how proud he was of what it had become. Then he said he was stepping back and handing full control to his successor. I actually smiled for a second, thinking maybe he'd finally recognize all my work. But then he called Dylan up to the stage. My little brother, who couldn't tell you the difference between our two main product lines, got a standing ovation. Dad handed him this fancy plaque and said Dylan represented the future of the company. I sat there watching everyone clap while my mom squeezed my hand under the table. She knew. That Monday, I walked into Dad's office and quit. No 2 weeks notice, no long explanation. Just told him I was done and left my keys on his desk. He actually laughed, said I was being dramatic and would come crawling back within a month. I had $50K in savings, a head full of industry knowledge, and absolutely nothing to lose. I rented a tiny office space on the other side of town and started making calls. Reached out to every supplier I'd worked with over the years. Turns out a lot of them were frustrated with our company's recent service issues. Issues that happened because Dylan kept overriding my decisions to impress Dad. Within 2 weeks, I had 3 major suppliers willing to give me better rates than they were giving Dad's company. They trusted me, not the family name. I hired 5 people, all former employees who'd left because they were tired of Dylan's incompetence. We worked 80-hour weeks for the first 6 months. I slept on the office couch most nights, but we were landing clients. Small ones at first, then bigger ones. Companies that were sick of delayed shipments and poor quality control from Dad's company. By month 8, we'd stolen 4 of their top 10 clients. I knew exactly which clients were unhappy because I'd been dealing with their complaints for years while Dylan played golf. Dad called me for the first time since I quit, tried to accuse me of stealing trade secrets, and threatened legal action. I reminded him that I'd signed a non-compete that expired after 6 months and everything I was doing was completely legal. He hung up on me. Year 2 is when things really took off. We landed a contract with a national retailer that Dad had been chasing for 5 years. I knew the buyer personally because I'd been the one handling all the previous negotiations before Dylan messed them up. Our revenue hit $8 million. Dad's company dropped to $12 million from their usual $18 million. Dylan was panicking, cutting corners on quality to reduce costs, which just made more clients leave. I got a call from their head of production, guy named Steve, who'd worked there for 20 years. He said half the staff wanted to quit because Dylan was running the company into the ground. I hired Steve and 6 other key people within a month. Now Dad's company couldn't even fulfill basic orders on time. By year 3, we'd completely overtaken them. Our revenue hit $15 million while theirs dropped to $6 million. They had to lay off 40% of their staff. Dad tried to sell the business, but nobody wanted to buy a failing company in a market where we were dominating. Last month, I got a call from Dylan. He asked if I wanted to buy out their remaining contracts and client list. His voice was shaking. I told him I'd think about it and hung up. A week later, I bought everything for a fraction of what it was worth. The company Dad spent 35 years building is now a subsidiary of mine. I kept most of the remaining employees and merged the operations. Dylan works in our sales department now, entry-level position, reporting to my VP, who used to be his assistant. Dad retired early and hasn't spoken to me since the acquisition. Mom sends me texts saying how proud she is. Last week, I promoted Steve to COO, and we just signed our biggest contract yet. Turns out the golden boy wasn't so golden after all.